Defeated, and we are back with another episode. So we're not coming to you live. We realized that with this being flu season, we want to give folks a chance to get some R&R and start having these conversations so that we can present them to you all every week like we intended. If you are just now joining us for the first time, this is a series started by myself and my incredible team, the founders of the Prosperity Project, which is an enterprise dedicated to tackling the predatory lending crisis and leveling the socioeconomic playing field for communities most susceptible to and impacted by predatory lending and debt constraint. And the whole theme of our show, Undefeated, is lifting the lid on debt constraints to live life without limits. So if you have heard already, either in previous episodes of the show or just me sharing my story or any of the work TPP has done, this is a very personal and deeply passion-inducing subject for all of us because we are fiercely devoted to making sure that the threats of student loan debt and the challenges that it creates for so many well-meaning, studious individuals are a thing of the past. So when we got our start, our organization actually was explicitly devoted to serving debt-constrained Black women who we belovedly and affectionately refer to as our Prosparettes, through our flagship 35 to Free initiative, which gets its name from the estimated $35 billion in student loan debt, as well as 35% rate of financial literacy that Black women in the US collectively hold. And as I have gone about this journey, as we've done our research and gotten to bring in the incredible women who have graced our 35 to Free initiative through their presence and their devotion, we've been very fortunate to encounter so many individuals with gripping stories who just should not have had to endure these circumstances. We've had women with as much as $295,000 in student loans. We've had single moms. We've had folks who have been unable to provide for themselves comfortably. We've had people who've almost defaulted on their loan debt. And for Black women, the likelihood of default is actually 5x what it is for other race and gender groups. Some other very alarming statistics for this population are that in our case, student debt takes up 111% of our income. So that's quite literally owing money we do not have. And on average, 12 years post-graduation, Black women owe 13% more on their student debt balances, whereas their white male counterparts have paid off 44%. Our program, 35 to Free, which was actually named South by Southwest Social Impact Innovation Award winner for this year, is devoted to marrying debt relief with financial education and career development to position it as a means to an end for generational wealth building and not just the end in and of itself. So joining me on today's episode of Undefeated, which is entitled Overwhelming Loan Obligations, we have one of our Prosparette members from our DMV cohort. So this is the first year that we have done it by region. Last year, our pilot spanned it was national, it was all virtual. We had 12 outstanding Black women from about 10 different states across the US. This year, we decided to focus in on region and try out a model that was tethered to a specific locale, which is the DMV, for those not around here, DC, Maryland, Virginia area. To share with you a little bit about who is joining me, we have Aaliyah Simms, who is a creative individual from Suffolk, Virginia. She is a 2020 theater and performance graduate of Spelman College, a 2019-2020 fellow alumna of Soul Center, and 2020 acting apprentice alumna from the Actors Theater of Louisville. She has so much experience when it comes to arts, and her portfolio is never ending. So I'm going to do my best to truncate. She's got work experience in public relations, community engagement, marketing, you name it, theater writing, film writing, a creative mind through and through. When it comes to her work, she has a deep love for theater and wants to become an actress. And she looks forward to connecting and collaborating with creatives that devise work essential to the hearts, minds, and souls of the people. So without further ado, so excited to welcome Aaliyah Simms.
Hey, Bree.
Hey, welcome to the show. It's great to have you with us.
Good to be with y'all.
Yes.
Happy.
You're our first Prosperette to be on here, so you should be really excited, really proud of yourself. Obviously, we want to diversify our guests and tell different kinds of stories. So, previously we've done a lot of profiling those who have come over the hump, right, of being in student loan debt in those trenches. But we also want to keep it real and let people in on the fact that it's not all sunshine and rainbows over here, and that we do still have folks that are dealing with it in real time. So if you would just share with everyone a little bit about your lived experience being debt constrained by student loans.
So my journey with paying back student loans began in 2021 of January. So I didn't think I would be in this place of having to pay back a tremendous amount of debt. In private student loans, I have $103,000 worth of debt. In federal student loans, I have $12,000 worth of debt. I knew it'd have to come to this moment, and it was really scary to sign up for my loans because I had experienced debt secondhand through like my mother and other family members that were in those situations and seeing how strenuous it was. But yes, when I first signed my loans, I didn't really understand all the terminology because of financial literacy. As a Black woman, I'm not up to peak with that. So when I was signing my loans, I was just signing them in the guidance of my mentor, and had got myself into some really deep stuff that I didn't know about until January 2021. So paying this back has been really hard because I graduated during COVID. It was the last year of my senior year. So I went to Spelman for 3 years. I graduated early. My third year, my last semester, my senior year, COVID hit in February, and I didn't have any way to do my ceremony. I couldn't walk across the stage. And as someone who's paying back debts and loans, like we were offered to come back onto Spelman's campus to walk across the stage. I couldn't walk across the stage because I didn't have money to get back to Atlanta to do that, because I was still balancing taking care of me and my mother because I was a caretaker too. That's another thing that came along, having to graduate and then prepare to take care of my mother at the age of 21. So I returned home to Suffolk, Virginia without a plan, and not really knowing the industry of Suffolk, and having to research like warehousing and logistics being the whole gist of Suffolk, Virginia. So that's like the most like jobs that I could elevate in my career, which wasn't even my career field, but the best I could do to take care of me and my mother, with so little. So then, yeah, January 2021 came around, and threw me around a lot. Having to take care of my mom I was making like an average of $800 every 2 weeks and being expected to pay $1,200 worth of student debt monthly was insane. Just having to think about it and relive it kind of brings up some PTSD for me because it was a really hard time and I don't like even understand how I could be here today. With everything that happened, like it's still happening, but it's just not as bad because the TPP program, y'all have helped a lot, but before y'all, it has been a very mentally constraining, stretching experience. It felt very lonely, because people didn't understand where I was coming from with trying to explain like, hey, like I can't do this today because I don't even have enough money to do that with you. And I'm trying to figure this out. Like, how am I going to pay back this money? I'm not even close to there. Like it was really hard. And I would like to really emphasize the mental strain that it puts on an individual of not paying it. I had got to one point where I just stopped paying it because like I didn't have anything. Like I was paying half of that $1,200 because I'm making $1,600 a month. So $1,600 a month. And my student loans is requiring me to pay $1,200 a month. That's not even rent. That's not food. I'm taking care of two people, me and my mother. So I had just threw it to the wind. Like I got tired of stressing over something I couldn't control, and I just let it go because I would be calling Discover and they would have really nasty attitudes and telling me like, hey, like this is all we have. Or if you do end up enrolling in a program, it's only going to be for 6 months, 12 months. And once that is over, we don't have any more options. You have to make sure you pay for 6 months in total. So I just had I'm not going to say gave up because I'm still going through it and I didn't throw in the towel, but I took a pause and I was just like, it doesn't exist. And that doesn't exist has gotten me a really bad credit score. So it's not funny. This is how I generate through life like a little
You have
butterfly.
to keep from crying.
Yes,
Mhm.
I just threw it to the wind and now I have a really low credit score. And just to speak of, because I moved from Virginia to Georgia currently, it took a lot to get the apartment that I'm in because of that really low credit score of dealing with my student loans. So just navigating all of that, like trying to think about a new car or getting a new house, like it has traveled many parts of my life and is affecting a lot of things. I still don't let it get me down, of course, because I don't even like this word for Black women, a fighter. I'm tired of fighting. And I believe that all Black women can agree when I say the fight, like it's cool, but also where is the R&R?
Yes.
Where is the bed and breakfast? Where is a relief? Where is our breath? Where can we pause for a moment and actually be a true pause and soak in the greatness that we are and to rest up for the next fight or the next challenge of our lives. But yeah, it has been a really hard journey. But TPP is what um, really helped me gain back a lot of stuff for myself and a lot of confidence. Because I feel like I was in a limbo state. I was just going along with life and just hoping that something would come along, and something did come along, which is the Prosperity Project, mentioned by my mentor who went to Spelman, who helped me get your contact information, Bree, and really told me, hey, you really need to meet up with this person. So I'm super happy that I actually did it because, like I said, I was in a phase where I was asleep. I was a zombie. So I'm so forever thankful for reaching out to you and this program. Y'all are really, 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 really important because I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have anybody else to help me think through this stuff because this is not easy at all, especially being put in a place where you're not provided with the tools and resources that you need in order to succeed properly as an adult. Like nobody thinks about this. Like people do think about these things, but it seems like for our community, it's not easily available so
Mhm.
quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that this resource is available. And that's just a little bit about my journey currently.
You've spoken on it so beautifully. And I'm, of course, always touched, to hear these stories from you all because this was my exact intention, like I've taken notes. I took meticulous cues from other solutions, right, that were trying to call themselves tackling student debt. And every single time it was just like Black women were an afterthought. And I would look at the recipients and be like, okay, like I'm glad someone's getting relief, but I know how bad it is for us, especially. And you touched on so many things that I would love to unpack with you further because being in these trenches myself, yes, I've made headway and I've been able to come out, at least 40,000 over the last 4 years, but I'm like, I still have my work cut out for me. And just even the interpersonal piece, going back to what you said about how they just have these really nasty, dismissive attitudes when you deal with lenders. We had a whole episode on this last week called Treacherous Collecting Tactics. And my guest, Tomas Alvarez, he spoke very in detail about how he was just the subject of so many schemes, like just outright robbery, where he got behind on his loans and then they were sold to a collections agency who just took the liberty of adding $25,000 without questioning, without consulting him, without so much as a heads up, even though I'm pretty sure that's illegal. And then it happened a second time with another agency. And my whole thing is it's like y'all are taking away, right, our spending power and our ability to generate wealth. And yet you're looking at us like we're some sort of nuisance and you have the nerve to be condescending and dismissive and connecting that right to the mental health piece. Because when you were talking about just checking out, that was me. I was Miss Ostrich, head in the sand. I fully put on my blinders and was like, you know what?
Mhm.
I guess there's just no hope. So who cares? Because I kept likening it to trying to drain the ocean with a teaspoon. I'm like, yeah, if I owe $750 a month, but I make barely 1,000 when I am employed, like that's not even just a given. That's when I am fortunate to have work this month as a contractor, as a temp agent, whatever. There's no way I can keep this up. And because the interest rates were so out of control. So I guess, was there like a turning point or a moment where you were especially aware that made you aware of kind of what position you had found yourself in? Because obviously none of us want to enter this informed because the
Mhm.
bad actors of the world are, it's a cheap shot. Like, yeah, they're going to do everything they can to lower the barriers to entry to getting into this debt and make it so easy, so frictionless. And then you just literally wake up and are like, what have I done? So what was that waking up moment? Like what kind of, I guess, triggered you and shocked you out of that?
It's going to take me a little bit to think about it because I try to delete those memories a lot.
Fair enough.
That's
It's a
like one of my
mental.
trauma responses.
Yeah,
Um,
fair enough.
mhm.
And so I guess too, though, that's pretty telling in and of itself. Like you've literally created a coping mechanism. And I really want to, I guess, then shift the conversation to be focused around that because one thing I hear time and time and time again, some more is that student debt is good debt, right?
Mm.
And it's something people almost should be grateful for. So I would love to hear your response to whenever you hear that come up and what you would like to say to anyone who might be watching this who uses that language and what they can learn from doing that.
I don't think I wouldn't say that student loan debt is bad, so I believe this is layered. I believe the way it's handled is horrible. The way that lenders handle things feels very predatory and targeted. Of course, you know you're signing up to get money, right? But you don't know all of the blocks and the layers of how your lender is going to treat you. Like for my situation, for an example, I have a maturity date. I did not see any of that in my paperwork because I'm a Capricorn and that has nothing to do with anything. I'm a Capricorn. I'm gonna read everything, even if I don't understand it.
Mhm.
Even to this day, when I go back to revisit my addendums and all the paperwork that I signed, I still don't see a maturity date. But when I'm on the phone having these conversations with my lender, they're telling me, hey, the maturity date is something that you have to pay by a certain date. So that is the end all be all of your loan. Like if it's not paid by this date, we'll handle things accordingly whenever that happens. And I don't even know what the consequences for that is. So it's like really intriguing. So yeah, it's not good debt. It is stressful. It is depressing for real, for real. It is anxiousness in that it's a lot of anxiety because you're dealing with people who do not care about if you pay this back or not. They're actually, it feels like they don't want you to pay it back so it can go in collections and they get more money out of you and possibly your whole paycheck, which they're already getting. So it's really disturbing. Like, just to add on to that maturity date, with interest rates. Some of my loans are varied interest rates. So I knew of that and I was asking for assistance and guidance to my mentor. I'm like, hey, so is this okay to sign up for? I should have never signed up for a varied interest loan because now with those varied interest loans, if that loan goes up, like to say it's at 11%, it goes to 12%.
Mhm.
Now my monthly payments are going up with that because I have to pay this by 2037 in May. 2037, May 2037. This all has to be paid by this date. So since that has to be paid by this date and your total loan just went up and also the your interest rate for one of these loans went up, now your entire monthly has gone up to like 1,300 or 1,300, however to say that. And it's going to continuously go up between 2023 and 2037. So who knows what I'll be owing in, let's say, 2030. I probably will be owing $2,000 or who even knows, but it's like it's so much anxiety built on that because you don't know when the interest loan is going up. Like you're thinking that you're a good, it doesn't even matter how much money you make. You're thinking that you're at a great position, but now you're paying 2 mortgages or you're paying 2 rents because this loan has to be paid. And if it isn't paid, now your credit score is in the trash and now you can't live a life. You
Yeah.
can't even rent on your own. You can't have a mortgage on your own. It's hard to build a family. Like, people think about these things, the things that make us happy, like, it's hard even to furnish the place that you get. It's so much built on top of that. It's not fun. It's scary. Like I said, anxiety driven. Yeah, so that's a conversation. I would not write it off as good debt.
Yeah, so I think
Oh,
the short of it is it can be anything but good, right? And
yes,
and to be fair, like you touched on, we're not saying that's all student loans, but it's debt constraint, right? And
yes.
my thing is, I take it a step further and I say, let's stop trying to turn debt into our best friend. I think that some people just have this really weird allegiance to like, oh, it has to be in your life. And, I've heard people describe it as a tool. And in some cases it can be that, but I feel like let's divorce adjectives from the debt and just talk about the experience. Debt is benign. Like debt in and of itself is just a financial, I would say, avenue or vehicle, however you want to phrase it, but it's the experience that makes the difference. So you can have good experiences with that, or you can have traumatic experiences with that. And everything you've just outlined is 100% an example, a grade A masterclass example of financial trauma. And so I'm just really appreciative of you opening up to this extent and being able to just let people know, like, right, it's a well-meaning phrase, and I think people genuinely are trying to say, oh yeah, when you're getting an education, like that's worth going into debt for. But like again, only to a point. Like it's not worth selling your entire future for. There's a whole documentary that talks about it called Borrowed Future from the Ramsey camp. And regardless of your opinions on Ramsey, I know that can be a very polarizing individual and set of beliefs, but I would say open yourself up to at least just the knowledge that documentary shares, because that was actually formative for me when I watched it last summer to help me figure out our prevention measure. Because I was like, we can't. I use the metaphor of a house on fire for this all the time. I'm like, we can't just keep bringing burn victims out and putting them into the ICU through, right, our 35 to free initiative. We've got to deter new people, but we've got to disrupt the system and put the fire out, right? Like we can't just let that keep raging out of control, because as of right now, student debt is on track to cross $3 trillion by 2042. And it's showing no signs of slowing down, right? So that's where I'm like proud that TPP is coming in to slow that down and then ultimately reverse it and restore order. But we've got our work cut out for us, because that's no easy feat. And because the impacts of those it already has affected are so far reaching, I think you have said it beautifully, just in terms of connecting the dots for what this means long term, because this was absolutely a loophole that some mastermind identified as a way to cripple an entire collective, right? Realizing what it had potential to grow into of, oh, you mean to tell me that this will keep them from being able to own property and invest and be shareholders and
Also to owe us till they die.
and
Owe
procreate
us till they die.
and start
Seriously.
families, all of it, right? It's stripping away basic the essence of humanity. So I know we could definitely have an extended cut conversation, but since we did start a little late, I want to be respectful. Make sure you have a night to yourself to rest and relax. So to go ahead and start wrapping us up, I would love it if you could share, just to always, give that silver lining, right? Because I do believe that our pain can be turned into purpose, right? To help pay it forward and help the next person. So if you could share a thing or two that this journey has taught you, and just something as a silver lining to extract with and impart onto the audience, or someone who's watching and they're like amening and just throwing their hands up in agreement and this is their life to a T, what would that be?
I'm very spiritual, so that is going to come out. And what has gotten me through this is continuing to see the bigger picture. thinking about where you want to be and how you're going to get there. And, you know, I pray to, and do the things that you love, find things that you love, because that's what helps me too. And what I'm getting more into, reading, yoga, breaths are good too, breathing exercises. Like, I know this is all the things that people say that's like supposed to be so life-changing, but it really is. Because I was one of those people that was like, oh, that is not life-changing. I know, but girl, yes, that is life-changing. Journaling, spend some time with yourself and loving yourself, a bath, like reading is really good, seriously. If it's your Bible, if it's feminist frameworks, because I love Audre Lorde, Tony K. Bombara, like that is
Mhm.
what's going to help. And just continuing to journal about your future and thinking about what you can do to get there and taking care of yourself. There is a silver lining, just to add to, I moved to Atlanta, to say it again, with 115K debt in total. Yes, own apartment, have a roommate, and still figuring things out. And I just know that it's going to be okay. You can't stop living. You have to keep living and love it. And even the hard times, find the light in that. It's going to be okay.
I think that was great advice, and it's the simple things. I mean, I'm a woman of faith too, and that was pivotal for helping me just get a grip, because you talk about mental instability because of all the things that my debt has cost me, right? Just realizing interpersonally, professionally, it's taken away so much from me, and I've had to work intentionally and quite hard to recoup that and turn that into a positive that could actually help me make up for lost time and get back to just living and existing as we were put on this earth too. So I fully wholeheartedly, this, I'm all in y'all's corner and
Mhm.
championing your journeys every chance that I get. And I am just so grateful that we've been able to impact you in this way. I mean, we're working constantly to figure out how we could take our impact up many notches. Because I'm like, in my dream world, we would be able to just write checks and clear people's debt all day long.
Mhm.
Like Mackenzie Scott, if you ever watch this, come holler, because we got some ideas for the next round of check writing. Like, I've seen you all in the news, and I really feel like this could be a great avenue to put some of those dollars to work.
Yeah.
But in any case, I think you summed it up perfectly. And I'm trying to think of what my Briism would be for this episode. I would just say that success is rarely linear and progress is rarely pretty. And, for anyone who's going through this, who feels like just there is no hope, or what's the point? I'm going to be in debt till I'm 80. I promise you that even though it started with them, it ends with you. And so just being able to take back control, it's possible. That's what TPP is here for, as we intensify our programming and have more solutions to offer people at different stages of their debt avoidance and relief journeys. Please reach out to us. No, you're not alone. I mean, it's unfortunate that anyone has ever had to go through this, because education is supposed to be a tool for empowerment, not a hindrance. But yeah, there's all hope is certainly not lost. And Aaliyah, you are as good a proof as that as any. So thank you again for being our guest today. We're excited to bring more content and more stories like these to you all over the rest of season 1. So tune in, share, subscribe. Let us know your feedback. Let us know if you have guest recommendations or subject matter you want to hear us speak on. And we will see you next